a little bit about some careers in STEM fields in the military, and a little bit about Army ROTC and some opportunities that exist there to get your education paid for. If you have questions at any time, please feel free to stop me. And then I hope I built in enough time at the end for us to kind of have some conversation and some questions about anything on you guys' minds. So I am Captain Matt Tetro. I'm an engineer in the Army. I've been in the Army for 10 years now, and I currently work at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, where I instruct ROTC cadets. So anywhere between, freshmen and seniors, spend several hours a week with them, instructing them in our Army ROTC curriculum. So just to dive right in, I imagine a lot of you don't really think about STEM when you think about different careers in the military, right? You see movies and TV shows, and it's usually like things blowing up and less, kind of the technical side of what we do. But there is a lot of technical expertise that exists within the military. And what I've tried to show here is just a handful of the different career opportunities that exist for smart STEM individuals like yourselves within the military. Within the Army specifically, we have chemical soldiers that identify, test, and protect against different chemical, biological, nuclear agents. Cyber is becoming a very big field now, particularly in terms of cyber defense. And I'm sure, that all of you are probably smarter on that than I am, but if you watch the news, there are a lot of people out there trying to take advantage of vulnerabilities in our cyber infrastructure. Engineers, of course, I am an engineer. So we have a pretty wide array of different tasks that engineers in the military do. We'll see examples of a couple of them in some of my later slides, but we build bridges, we do building construction, all kinds of things abroad, and then also here in the United States. Army engineers manage all of the nation's waterways. So fun fact for you there. We have just about every medical specialty you can imagine, right? So all kinds of different doctors, dentists, nurses, and veterinarians. Military intelligence folks deal with a lot of unique sensors and remote sensing and satellites and stuff like that. And then what we call signal, right, would be kind of probably make more sense if we just called it communications. So dealing with all kinds of high frequency and satellite communications, and some very smart folks that make all that work. So again, a lot of different things. I'm sure that you guys have a pretty diverse range of things that you're interested in. There's probably a place for just about all of you if you so choose in the Army. Here we go, some cool guy pictures, right? So we have just a few examples of some of those career fields that I discussed previously. So Army veterinarian working on a military working dog there in the upper left-hand corner. Upper right-hand corner, kind of difficult to see what this individual is doing, but they're programming an electronic warfare system that jams frequencies, certain radio frequencies, basically. Bottom left-hand corner, that's some of my engineers constructing a bridge. It's a floating bridge, so something that can be constructed quickly, just about anywhere in the world. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, that weird-looking piece of equipment right there will enable the Army to establish internet services anywhere in the world. So you go to the middle of the Mojave Desert, set that thing up, and you can have internet in a matter of minutes, right? Provided you have the smart folks to make it work, because I'm sure as heck not going to get that thing to work. All right, so is anyone familiar with Army ROTC or have any idea what it is? Any of you all have junior ROTC programs at your high school? That's my dog, sorry. She's cuddled up over here, so. All right, so you maybe have seen junior ROTC at your high schools. That's a little bit different. They're kind of affiliated with us, but primarily What they're doing is a lot of just volunteer work, learning how to march, and general stuff like that. It's folks joining it on a volunteer basis, and there's really no commitment involved. Senior ROTC, which is what people do in college, is a little bit different. So essentially, it's a way that you all can get your college paid for, and in return, you would serve for 4 years after graduation. But there's a lot more that goes into it than that. And I've tried to lay it out here with the bullet points you see here on the slide. So basically, it's been around since World War I. The Army has put folks like myself at colleges around the country to train college students on a voluntary basis. And those folks have the opportunity to earn merit-based scholarships. The Army gives out about $300 million in scholarships annually, making them the biggest provider of scholarships in the country. I put a link in here, and that link will show up again at the end of the presentation. So don't feel like you need to scramble to copy it down right now. But it is a really simple process to go through to apply for these scholarships. Basically, if you were to apply, what the folks that manage the scholarships look for is people that are good scholars, which I imagine, based on the fact that you all are doing this on a Saturday, you probably are. Athletes, and when we say athletes, we don't mean like the captain of the football team. We just mean people that are in generally good shape, right? Can you run a mile? Can you do some push-ups? Even if you can't, if you just show the willingness to get better, we'll help get you there. We do physical training and do exercise several times a week. It's usually a lot of fun. And then finally, after graduation, our students become officers in the Army, right? And then they serve in some capacity or another. That could be full-time, which is what I chose to do. So I graduated from Indiana University in 2011. And since then, I've been stationed in Germany, Washington State, South Carolina, Missouri, all different kinds of cool places. Traveled to the Philippines, to India, to Afghanistan, to on Finland, on different missions. So that is, if you wanted to do it full time, that would be kind of the kind of opportunities you'd be looking at. And if you want to have a civilian full-time job and serve part-time in the Army, that option is there too, through the reserves and National Guard. So a lot of different options out there, just depending on what your long-term goals are. More cool guy pictures, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about the training that we do and some of the opportunities that we give our students. This picture here is just kind of teeing that up for you all. So what you see is basically some of the team building exercises that we do, as well as some of the physical fitness stuff. And I'd ask that you all don't pay too much attention to the face that guy in the middle is making, because that's not representative of everything that we do here, but I'm sure he's having a good time. All right, so right up front, kind of what Army ROTC can offer, right? First things first is if, for those that qualify and are selected for a 4-year scholarship, the Army ROTC program will pay full tuition to any school that has an ROTC program there. So most schools in the country do. I won't say all, but probably somewhere in the ballpark of like 80% of colleges and universities, have some sort of Army ROTC program. Many universities offer room and board. So Rose-Hulman gives a room and board scholarship to any of our cadets. So if the Army awards you the 4-year tuition scholarship, the university matches with a room and board scholarship. And some other universities do that as well. You just have to talk to the university on an individual basis to find out what they offer there. Our cadets get $1,200 annually to pay for their textbooks. And as you all will find, as you start, going off to college here in the coming years, those textbook fees can add up pretty quickly. So that book stipend is very helpful. And then a $420 monthly stipend just to help cadets with their, day-to-day expenses, putting gas in their cars, putting groceries in their refrigerators, and just kind of helping them get through the day-to-day. The really cool thing that you know, a lot of the recruiters won't tell you about right off the bat is there are some really neat internships and training opportunities during the summers between, say, your freshman and sophomore and junior years that a lot of our cadets take advantage of. So and just in the past few years, we've had cadets do cyber internships out in Washington, D.C. with different government agencies. We've had folks do internships with the Army Corps of Engineers where they go work on dam and waterway projects, and a lot of others as well. And then in terms of training opportunities, if you would rather do something a little bit more physical and a little bit less technical, we send folks to Army Airborne School every summer. So go jump out of planes and stuff like that. Or between my sophomore and junior year in college, I went to the Army's Mountain Warfare School where we went and climbed mountains for a month in Vermont. So all different kinds of unique opportunities like that. They're all paid, and just some unique life skills and technical skills that can be gained if you so desire. None of those are mandatory. All right, I've got a video teed up and I'm already getting nervous. I've got a 50% success rate with these, so.
You gotta jump out, yep.
All right, so just to give you guys a little bit of context before I start this super cool video, basically between their junior and senior year, all of our cadets go down to Fort Knox, Kentucky, which is just about 2.5 hours south of where I am in Terre Haute right now. They do about a month of training down there. And that's basically like their big training exercise. Every cadet in the country, whether they're from Alaska or Florida or New York or wherever they're from, comes to Fort Knox. And it's a really cool big training opportunity. So this is just a little teaser for that.
Moving! This year's CST was absolutely fantastic. The cadet summer training is the largest exercise that we conduct in the Army every year. We're not only talking about the folks that we train here at Fort Knox, but we get folks that travel all around the world, and then we send folks to all the different schools, airborne, air assault, and those types of schools. So you're talking about 10,000 cadets that we train in about 100 days.
Having cadets here in a scripted, so to speak, or a structured training environment, that's what they need. You have to understand the basics of whatever you're going to do. They're here learning how to be leaders or refining their leadership attributes and competencies. And we're not grading them on whether they can conduct a raid or an ambush. We're grading them on their ability to lead.
Third person's going to get
what I was particularly proud of this year is that we continue to up the rigor to demonstrate to the cadets what it's like, would be like to conduct operations as part of large-scale ground combat operations. And so this year that we're able to integrate throwing live hand grenades, buddy team live fires, more road marches, longer basic rifle marksmanship, all particularly proud of those events that we did. This is really the first opportunity where the cadets get exposed to the diversity that is in our Army. You know, whether it's whatever that diversity is, whether it's gender, religious, ethnic, racial, whatever that is, they get exposed to on a large scale. And the bigger pieces, they get exposed to one of the toughest things that you can do in the Army is leading your peers.
So next summer we're looking at incorporating, it's a stress suit. So it's a battle, march, and shoot. Basically, you're going to test the individual cadet's ability to employ their weapon system, their M4, under stress. they'll get to experience, we call it the Nick at Night. So it's the night infiltration course. And that's basically moving under fire, under simulated artillery, in various individual movement techniques.
So most rewarding outcome is that we pull it off in a cohesive group and provide quality instruction to these cadets. The role of, I guess, ROTC and cadet summer training is to create the next leaders for our Army. You know, we're going to entrust in them at a very young age the awesome responsibility of leading America's sons and daughters.
All right, I hope everybody's as fired up by that video as I am. Just gonna touch on some of the bullets here, not gonna read the whole slide to you. I trust that you all are more than capable of doing that yourselves. Just a little bit about what kind of we do at the ROTC programs at the various universities. And this is gonna be more or less the same whether you come to Rose-Hulman or you go to a university on the other side of the country. It's pretty similar. And if you are interested in going elsewhere, then by all means, I'll be happy to help you, figure out how to get there as well. So basically we do classes a couple times a week. And in the classroom portion, we talk about things like the Army's, how the Army works, what its structure is like. We talk about some small unit tactics, right? How we conduct operations. And then the biggest thing we focus on is leadership development. So we want to produce people who are competent leaders, who are confident, good communicators, capable of making sound judgments, right? So that's really the majority of what we focus on. And then we do practical exercises once a week where we take our cadets out into the woods near the university, and we do little simulated exercises and test their leadership skills in that way. We do physical training 3 times a week. So if I'm gonna step on my own foot at any point here it is. We get up pretty darn early, right? So we do PT 3 times a week at 6 o'clock in the morning. And it's usually a pretty fun time. And our cadets get in very good shape in a short amount of time. As I already talked about, there are a lot of summer training opportunities available to you. And then the 45-day cadet summer training between your junior and senior year, which is the video that we just watched. All right, so I've talked entirely too much. What questions do you all have? And how can I help you with any questions or issues you have about the Army ROTC program?
I have a quick question. So I was actually leaning towards Rose-Hulman myself for more of the engineering aspect, but for ROTC, when do you have to apply for that? Is it just after you go to Rose-Hulman, is it just something you join there, or do you have to have that before you leave?
That's a great question. So there are different options, right? If you want to be eligible for a 4-year scholarship, or for a full tuition scholarship, the best thing you can do at this point is go to the link at the bottom of my slide here at goarmy.com, and you can apply for that now. But let's say you'd never heard of Army ROTC before and you showed up to your school and maybe you met somebody or found out about it. You could walk into our offices at any time and we can get you into the program. It would just, the trade-off there would be that you wouldn't have your tuition paid for until, at least until you came and spoke to us and we were able to go through all that paperwork and found, scholarship money to provide you.
So for that, scholarship money, is that a definite thing? You said tuition paid for. Does that mean on a majority, does most people get all their tuition paid for? Is that just whoever gets the scholarships?
Yeah, so the scholarships are kind of competitive, and again, the biggest thing it's based on is GPA. But if you have a relatively competitive GPA, then you probably stand a pretty good chance. And even if you don't, and you show up, you come into our offices, we can usually find, at least partial scholarships to help out. And I'll also say, a lot of people do it on a trial basis, right? So we have several students that showed up, they didn't have a scholarship, they wanted to try it out, and they can do that without a commitment, without any sort of commitment to the Army. So that's an option as well.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Other questions?
Feel free to unmute so you can ask your question if you have a question for the captain. I'll ask one while we're waiting. What does a career pathway really look like for someone who joins ROTC in college? Do they automatically go to the Army? What does that pathway for them look like?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different options. There's the kind of full-time option, which is what I've done, and then there's also a part-time option, which would be for those of you that have heard of like the National Guard or Army Reserves. That's a part-time commitment. Those folks serve for 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year. But if you do decide to do the active duty full-time thing, then you are committed for 4 years after graduation. And I highly recommend it to all my students, right? It's super exciting. You get to see and do things you probably never get to do otherwise. It's been great for me and my family. Obviously, it hasn't been all fun and games, but it's been an awesome opportunity, and I recommend it to just about everybody. I should also mention our ROTC program. We're headquartered at Rose-Hulman, but we also service Indiana State University, DePaul University, University of Southern Indiana, Vincennes University, St. Mary of the Woods College, and Evansville University. So we're kind of a hub, and students from all those different schools kind of fall under our umbrella. So we train students all over Southwestern Indiana. So if you don't want to go to Rose-Hulman for one reason or another, and you want to go to Indiana State criminal justice, then we're still your guy. Anything else?
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing information about ROTC and for sponsoring the Indiana TSA conference. We are so excited to just show students the diverse opportunities that are available to them if they're interested in a STEM career. And I think this is just such a great option for students who are interested in something like this. And really, I love what you said about doing things you'd never get to do. There's so much travel you can do. And that's what I've learned from my friends that serve in the military. They've traveled, they get to meet all kinds of people and network, and it's just such an amazing opportunity for your young students. Our state advisor, I will say this, is in the National Guard, and so he's really been able to pair teaching with being in the National Guard and been able to serve his country that way. So thank you for your service. And if anyone has any questions, his email is up on the slide as well, and it will be in the sketch session where this recording will be posted. So if you know any of your friends that you think might be interested in this presentation in your chapter, this will be posted in sketch if they had other things going on during this time. So thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you all. Have a good one, guys.